So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to tell you how the hell did I get into this. Okay, so my journey actually began, I grew up in Karachi, Pakistan. I grew up in a very big urban city, and I was the child of parents who never went to university. But my parents were very invested in my education. I went to a good school. And at my good school, I had an amazing set of teachers, and one of my teachers was my chemistry teacher was amazing. He was actually from Sri Lanka, and he came out of the student activist movement in Sri Lanka, and he knew all about making explosions, shall we say. And he was very supportive of me. I used to go after hours to the chemistry lab, and he would be very supportive of letting me try things. Okay, so everybody, lesson number one, everybody needs a teacher who's adventurous and supportive. When I was in university, I entered my first research lab, and that changed my life. For the first time, I got to ask questions that nobody knew the answer to. We had to discover the answer. And that was the thing I loved the most. It was a research lab with a lot of experimental work, hands-on work, so that also really jived well with my life and work I had. When I first became a professor at MIT, which is the physics department is very male-centric. When I was a graduate student, I was the only woman in my group in Weiss's lab. Okay, so that was the scale. And now, 20 years later, I was becoming a professor. And one of the things that I really struggled with was I was recruiting new students to come to my lab, and none of the women would come. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm a woman. Why don't they want to come here? And then there was a turning point when the first 1 and 2 came, and now my group is often half to more than half women. And that was a turning point. And that's a very big deal because across the field, among PhDs, is 20%. So I'm doing better than double the average. But it took a while, and I think there's that critical mass turning point of, and I will tell this to every person here, man or woman, who, anytime you're going into a new organization, you want to ask, is this going to be a good place for me to be? And one of the things you'll have to gauge is how, what is the experience of women or people like you, whether you're a person of color or whatever your identities are, is this going to be a good place for you? And one of the markers of that is have others like you thrived there. So that's a turning point. Almost everything I've shown you seems like it's all done by men. Look at the number of women in this picture, and these are all the scientists that were in the sort of central part of the discovery. This is the close-in group of people that were responsible for that. And you can start to see how many women are part of that. Now, the Nobel Prize went to the founding fathers, but if there was a next generation, it would be the women. So, things are changing, and you're going to be part of that change, and I hope you will be energized to take it on. Thank you.